What's the discourse? What are people discoursing about? Just show me the top TikTok video of the past 24 hours. I'll have opinions.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
This is our front door. This is my bed. This is where I slept last night. And this is my shower.
It's the future the World Economic Forum has for all of us.
Where's the sink? Totally. What's great about this, it actually is the same action.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just,
I can't get it in frame, but like, this is my door right here. 1, 2, and like, literally, I'm on the bed. That's it. There's no more room to walk.
What do you think is going on here? 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, just gotta get by.
You're good.
How are these people not miserable? Well, they live in New York City, so my guess is that they're outside most of the time. Like, people don't typically move to New York City to stay inside all day. They're usually, like, doing stuff because it's the greatest city in the world. People always talk about how, like, new housing development needs to, you know, you need more of it in New York City to drive down housing prices. But I think an under-discussed element of New York City that makes it special, maybe I guess that needs to make it less special, more places should be like New York City. Like, the reason people are willing to pay for all this is because there's high demand, and the reason there's high demand is because it's New York City. You need to make more places in the United States so cool that people want to live like this. You know what I mean? Like, what we're looking at right now is a byproduct of the supply-demand curve present here in New York City. So you would solve the problem by not having only like 3 real cities in the United States. Is it that cool? New York City's pretty dang cool. Yeah. In Tokyo, there are a lot of apartments like this, but they're very affordable. Well, Tokyo has grown out so far that, like, they're kind of doing that, you know? There's always more Tokyo. But New York City has already grown to its civic limits, at least, like, horizontally. You can build it up, but it's not, the city limits itself probably aren't going to expand. You need to make more cities that are cool. There's nothing wrong, necessarily, with people living in little shoebox apartments, right? At certain stages in your life, maybe that's the best way to live. Maybe that's the most efficient way to live. I disagree, that's just too small. Yeah, it's like a dorm room, you know? Not for 3K plus, though? No, well, that's my point. Like, you need to make more places in America that are cool, like New York City. Can't raise a family in that? No, nor should you attempt to. But not every living unit has to be for people raising a family. I'm not against tiny living spaces. I think that there are, in some select cases, I think that it's very valid. You know, it's fine. What were the name of those old dormitories? Not dormitories. They were called, what was the term for them? They used to be very, very common. Artists would live in them. People moving to a city for the first time. They're uncommon now. Or, like, basically illegal. They don't make them anymore. Not tenements. It's like a specific kind of, you're all wrong. Boarding house? No, you're all incorrect. You're all incorrect. It's, studio apartments? No. In what world are studio apartments illegal? Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. You have no idea what you're talking about. Jesus. Residential hotels. I think that's the term. Residential hotels. Residential hotels. 19th century? Because nowadays, I think the term is different. Floor plan. It was like dorms, basically. Isn't that just a hotel? No, because they were built to be lived in on a semi-permanent basis. Like, you could spend, it was like an apartment. You could spend a couple years in there, you know? Yeah, a night or 6 months. They used to be very, very, very common. You just pay a couple bucks. Yeah, like long-term occupancy hotels. But they're not hotels. They're like apartments. Flop houses? No, flop houses are different. Now there are long-stay hotels. Yeah, but those aren't good. And they don't really suit the purpose. Long-term hotels are what they're called. No, that's a different thing. Dorm-style living for New Yorkers, 19th century. Give me the... I'm having a hard time with it. I'd have to find it on Twitter. Whatever. May I ask what's cool in New York City especially? Dog, you just gotta go there. I don't know where the fuck you live. I don't know what you think civilization is like. I don't know what the world looks like in your head. You must realize long-term motel living is the same, albeit aesthetically different, right? No, it's really not. The whole point of these buildings was that if you were a young professional or you had just graduated or whatever, you could pay a trivial amount of money to stay in a very, very small bedroom with a shared kitchen and shared bathrooms, basically like dorm living, but it was your place. It wasn't a hotel and you weren't off like a motel off the highway or whatever. You were in the city. You were in there. You could live there for 6 months or a year or 2 years. And the whole point was that it was available to people. They were single, young professionals, tiny ass apartment, $300 a month. Plenty of motels in the city. Are you being belligerent? Is this oppositional defiant? Are you trying to argue with me? Do you want to be sent to your room with no dinner? What are you doing? We're not talking about motels. Google motel. That's not what we're talking about. That's a different thing. Building a motel in the center of Manhattan so that young urban professionals could live there for $300 a month. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ. You people are crazy. You're ridiculous. Are you not thinking of a tenement? No. Pretty sure boarding house the term you're thinking of? Okay. Quick check. If you Google right now, boarding house. A boarding house is a residence where individuals rent one or more rooms, typically with meals and shared amenities provided. Boarding houses typically, this is more of a like bed and breakfast kind of thing. Or like closer to a hostel. It's not the same as a permanent residence. I mean, it depends, I guess. It depends. SRO. Single room occupancy building, New York. Low cost, furnished. Yeah, like this. It's like a dorm room, basically. Every city should have these. You pay like $500 a month for a little. It's just the one room that looks pleasant enough. Yeah, for sure. Just keep it clean. It comes pre-furnished. You live there for 6 months, 12 months. Well, you live there. You're a young professional. You're figuring your life out. You know. Why don't we build these anymore? They seem convenient. They're illegal to build in most of the United States. Why? Because everything has to be a single family house? I don't know. Not landlord friendly? Oh, they're fine. They promote crime? No, they don't. Are they really illegal? Yes! They violate zoning and permitting laws in many places. You know the meme? A mixed-use walkable neighborhood like this is illegal to build in many American cities? That's a real thing. They make it illegal. The quote-unquote new solution for the NYC housing crisis, single-room apartments. There's a push to revive single-room occupancy housing where kitchens and bathrooms are shared among apartments as small as 100 square feet each. That's a jail cell? Well, this one's very ugly, which doesn't help, you know, doesn't help the vibe a little bit, you know? Oh, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Is that one really that bad? If a New Yorker could pay $600 a month for that, they would jump at the chance. Kind of sucks if you have a big dog, though. You wouldn't have a big dog if you lived here. Kind of sucks if you have 8 children. That is true. If you had 8 children, this would be a slightly inconvenient living space. The city passed laws preventing the construction of new units and the division of apartment buildings into SROs, leading to their steady decline over the decades. Yep. They are not yesterday's SROs, said Mr. Botcher, the councilman. They're modern, flexible, well-managed homes that can meet the needs of a diverse population. Yeah. Townhouse? No, that's a different thing. We do need more of these. These kinds of housing units have been become quite common in Norway. Problem is that usually when someone's willing to let other people live in such a small living space, they also don't give a shit about that living space. They fall apart quickly. Yeah, the one admitted difficulty with these is that they aren't landlord friendly, but in a bad way, in the sense that like the low cost of living here means that many people who live here will be poorer. There will be, on average, more instability, and that can mean that a bad tenant can fuck things up for everyone, and it can take a long time to get them out. You would need, like, more specific provisions for ousting, especially when it comes to stuff like shared bathrooms, you know? You would need to have that be managed more. Maybe rather than single room occupancy, having a shared mini kitchen and bathroom would be preferable. Like we saw that for these New York City apartments, but you need to standardize their construction, you know? Need more of them. More 400 square foot mini apartments, not really single room though. Micro apartments in Capitol Hill. Hey, Capitol Hill. I know that place. I wonder what the square footage is there. That building looks stupid. All buildings in Seattle look stupid. What's the smallest space you've lived in? Well, I lived in dorms for a while, but in terms of an apartment, I was in a studio apartment. It was like 600 square feet or maybe less. I don't know. Check the criticism section. Wait. In Seattle, there's been a backlash in some cities against the increasing number of micro apartments. In Seattle, some residents have complained high-density microhousing changes the character of neighborhoods. Suddenly increasing demand for parking spaces and other amenities. From 2009 to 2014, Seattle had a big increase in the building and creation of new SRO units designed to be rented at market rates, which had an average monthly rent of $660. That's crazy. Dude, $660 to live on your own in Seattle is really fucking good. That's really, really good. In 2018, the media depicted the increasing popularity of micro apartments as a new trend. That is true. 660 in 2014. Yeah. So probably what, like 1100 now? It's still pretty good. Neighborhood groups in Seattle have criticized new micro apartment SRO units. Fucking NIMBYs, man. Arguing they, quote, harmed community character and provided inhumane living conditions. Inhumane living conditions. Anytime you hear harm community character, what they mean is you're letting too many young, poor people into our neighborhood. Criticism. Although some people prefer to live in micro apartments, others only temporarily live in them due to economic reasons and would move to a larger house or apartment if they could afford to do so. How is that a criticism? How the fuck is that a criticism? What? One problem with micro apartments is that they're not macro apartments. Okay, well, if you could afford a macro apartment, you would move into a macro apartment. That now you have a micro apartment to live in while you save for the macro apartment. How is that a criticism of the apartment? Just filler text? Yeah. One problem with the budget option is that it's not the luxury option. That's true. That's pretty true. You really need to live alone a minimum wage for a year before advocating for this trash? Mega Rocks, what are you complaining about? You want me to look at the logs? Fine, I'll look at the logs. What are we complaining about? It's a hostel, should cost $50 a month. $50 a month? That's not real. I lived in a house share like this, €550 a month, or sorry, pounds a month, which was more than half my salary. It was legitimately the worst period of my life. Do you think you might be projecting a personal negative experience a little bit? Slightly? I lived in one, it was fucking horrific. That's degenerately expensive, radicalizing me pricing, need a loan. I don't know what you're upset about. $50 a month, that's not real. Nothing can cost $50 a month. That's not possible. $50 a month, what is that? Subscription to Netflix? That can't be real. I second this take. I've had to deal with similar conditions to this. What conditions? You mean just living in a small apartment? What are we talking about? You're only supposed to be here if you can't afford the bigger option. The alternative to this is homelessness. If you can't afford the bigger option, the alternative to this is homelessness. You don't have to live here. It's a choice provided to you on an open housing market. I think they're describing bad suitmates. Admittedly, one of the big issues is having to, like, it does come down to having to manage your housemates for sure. It is very difficult, I think, especially tenant protections. If you have somebody who's belligerent or disgusting, months and months might have to pass before you can oust them. That's not good. As long as they shower and clean their shit. Unfortunately, enough people don't do those things that it is a problem, like on a social level. There's not much proof that their use reduces the local market price. I don't know if it reduces the local market price, but objectively, if those are offered at a lower price, the people who are living there get to live there for a lower price than they would otherwise. I don't know if enough SROs or micro apartments have been built to, like, at scale to really see if it lowers housing prices, you know? It's also not necessarily, like, competing for the same clientele as some other types of housing, right? Like, I wouldn't expect the availability of micro apartments to reduce the cost of single-family homes. It would not reduce the market price because people who could afford macro apartments are not in competition with people who could afford micro apartments. Well, they kind of are. It's a matter of whether you're paying like 30% of your income in rent or 50%, right? Also, even if it's not lowering the general price, it's still lower cost housing for people who can't afford more expensive stuff. That's what I mean. It doesn't affect the supply and demand curve, and they cost about the same, so why not build regular ones? Hold on, wait, 1 second. I'm losing my mind. If the micro apartment is cheaper, people can afford it when they couldn't afford a regular apartment. Do you understand? Like, a regular apartment in Seattle might cost $2,500. So if they build one that costs $1,200, that's less money than the $2,500. So then people could move in. You understand? I think I'm following. Are you saying these apartments are good or they are necessary? I think that in every major city in America, there should be extensive low-cost housing that's like 500 square feet per building, or not building, I guess, per unit, that it basically functions like a single-room occupancy mega building that young professionals can stay in without having to, like, bust out for a $2,500 a month apartment. Yeah. We used to have them. They used to be much more common. We build our cities more densely. Now we don't. I don't get it, no LOL. I don't get it at all. Yeah, but these are around 100 square feet. Around 300. 150 to 350. I wouldn't advocate for 150. 150 is pretty goddamn... Wait, hold on. Living in a 170 square foot tiny micro studio on a Seattle tech salary. Is this... What neighborhood is this?
You guys know I'm a real estate agent here in Seattle, Washington, and I talk a lot about what you can buy or sell, but not a lot about what you can rent. I don't really work in rentals, but before, a couple in what this is back in 20 on the scene in America in about 2012, and I've actually toured one before. A couple in Capitol Hill back in 2020 rented a 250 square foot micro studio for $1,500 a month. Where are they now, you might ask?
Okay, $1,500 a month is obviously fucking psychotic for this square footage. I'm not justifying that at all. That's absolutely insane.
Well, I actually sold them a house. They've since upgraded to 1,700 square feet, are proud homeowners, and have a really cute looking puppy.
That's
Today's
great.
micro studio is going to be a little bit different at 170 square feet. For context, that is so small. My 31-foot Airstream is around 180 square feet, and the average parking space is around 180 square feet. So yes, the place we're about to see is about the size of a parking spot, and it'll cost you around $975 a month. But when the average one...
This is, I think, a big problem is that this really needs to be standardized. Like, you need to build... You can't just build one townhouse that's split up into 4 micro apartments. You need to build, like, a gigantic apartment block, like a commie block, that has, like, 800 of them in it or something. You need to commit to it. You need to build at scale. The whole point of building things that are small and efficient should be building at scale, right? Like, what's the point of building a micro apartment? In many cases, you're not even filling up the land that you're building it on. Like, you're concerned with size and scale. You're trying to build these micro apartments so people can afford them, but then you're like leaving a lawn there in an apartment building that has 4 micro apartments. Why wouldn't you maximize the space? The whole point is that you're trying to make this affordable. What are you're leaving shit on the cutting room floor. They're atomizing apartments into smaller and smaller spots that'll just cost more and more, which is obviously bad. Where's Masaigu? Masaigu, type up something about how Tokyo does this better. I've got to piss again, man. Must have drank a lot this morning. 1 second. Let's take a look at this micro apartment in Seattle. Does Vaush have diabetes? You're aware of the fact that, like, it's normal to pee every hour to 2 hours, right? What was that one tweet where people were revealing how infrequently they pee? It was like a week or so ago, and people were like, oh, I pee 3 or 4 times a day, and it's like, you're gonna die? Dehydrated motherfuckers, yeah.
Bedroom is running close to $2,300 a month. Suddenly, a micro studio doesn't sound that small. Space creates density, and margarita.
I work basically it.
Just show the
A
apartment.
little bigger.
That's
I guess,
smart,
and
yes.
It brightens up the room, I think.
Wait, is this really smaller than a parking space? I don't think that's true. That doesn't look right to me. This is smaller than a parking space? I guess cars are bigger than you think.
relation to like
And
a
the
small
that's not a small bathroom either. American parking space, yeah, Ford F-150 parking space.
place, like the bathroom feels like a very normal sized bathroom.
Yeah,
right?
It's pretty normal. It just has everything you need.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not a lot of spaces that you're not utilizing. Like,
Yes.
I'm in every single part of this apartment.
Yeah, this is allegedly 170 square feet. It feels a lot bigger than that. Weird. Norway does this terribly, but Finland does this amazingly. They have a lot of social housing that looks like this. Also, that apartment is not small, it's big. Well, allegedly, it's 170 square feet. I feel the issue with this convo is we started off with unethical apartments. This place is just a decent bedroom. The place people are living in NYC are barely livable. That is true. And I think that, like, the micro apartments get a bad rap for that because oftentimes in New York City, the reason those floor plans are so awful is because they're grandfathered in from 1,000 years ago, or because it's like existing apartments have been cut up into like 2 or 3 or 4, so they're really inefficiently laid out, you know? Everything, it's just rent seeking from the original owners. Whereas if you build like a big apartment building up from the ground, you can get one of those like East German buildings, you know? The kind that they show in the museums to show us how hard life was under communism, but then it's like, damn, why can't I afford that now? East German Apartment Housing Museum. People used to be 4 feet tall. That's also true. That is also true. People did used to be 4 feet tall. Size of apartment in Soviet commie block. About 300 to 650 square feet for 1 to 2 bedroom units. High density, low cost. Shit was basically free too. Interior. Not bad. No, it's really not. It's really not. Could be us. I'm not seeing a good video here. I'm faltering. I'm fumbling. How are you doing, chat? I'm alive? Well, that's good. Check out this modular building apartments in the Netherlands. The Netherlands? How is it modular? Are they just stacking shipping crates on top of each other? I'm not sure if I understand the motive here. Why not just design a building? This does feel autistic, spiritually, if not literally. Can we talk about how small your shirt is? It's like a summer shirt. It's like light fabric. The arms? Yeah, it's like the way shirts used to be cut. You know? The sleeves, I mean? Modern shirt sleeves are very long compared to how they used to look. Nude's hat? Nope, it's been there for a while.